Welcome to the Invisible India podcast. I'm Jessica.
And I'm Abhishek. We are a cross-cultural couple doing life in India, exploring the lesser-known mysteries of Indian culture,
Interviewing fascinating figures who have chartered new territories, and sharing life as we raise our multicultural family amongst the complexities of modern Indian life. Jessica and Abhishek here.
Hi. Yeah, I'm here.
You have been so delinquent on this podcast that I almost kicked you off of it. Why?
I don't know. I think I'm just letting you run with it.
Well, since you've been so delinquent, you might as well come up with a good excuse for what you've been doing. What have you been working on?
Bunch of things, mostly to do with local projects that we are running, and just some travel bookings. Basically, I'm getting ready for some trips in the next couple of months.
Tell us about their local project.
One of the projects that I've been currently involved in has been to raise health awareness in the acute encephalitis. Usually lots of children die from that disease in this part of India. We have selected some people through our network to go out and do drama, like skit. In Hindi, it's called Nukkad Natak. Via Nukkad Natak, they will raise awareness and ask questions, talk to people in that village. They will report back with what kind of feedback they have received. So that's what I'm doing for the next couple of months.
Nice. And we are currently in my new office space, which is actually in our house. One of the issues we know with our podcast being inside a concrete echo chamber where our concrete walls, and we have shadi going on every night behind our house. We've moved to a new place where on three sides of us, there's basically like three different wedding halls. So every night it's like, "Akai ke paan banaras wala," and "Aaj mere yaar ki shaadi hai, aaj mere yaar ki shaadi hai." It's like
pretty annoying.
Very loud.
Quite annoying, but I'm happy for the other people also.
No, you're not. You don't care.
No, I do. I do care.
Oh, okay.
The only thing is that I think usually by 9 o'clock they phase them out.
Yeah, people, the Barat arrives and they kind of go to they get inside the wedding hall and start feeding people.
There's a new law in India that, I don't know if it's in our state or everywhere, where you cannot have loud music after 10 p.m. Yeah, I don't know if that's why they stop it, or they just are done and the band people want to go home. That might be the case now. Only in the rural areas maybe there's late night band, like 12, 1, 2 o'clock. I think that world is slowly ending in the cities.
Yeah, people have crap to do, and it's like disturbing people, and it's not like everyone can just sleep in the morning and whatever. Abhishek is motioning to me wildly. Why are you motioning to me like this right now? I want to know.
I'm waiting for my chicken roll to arrive.
What?
We were supposed to be fasting, but...
You're supposed to be fasting today, and you're ordering a freaking chicken roll? It's 10 o'clock at night. What are you doing? Forget about the chicken roll, and let's move forward.
Just some food.
You don't want to admit that you're eating chicken. Well, just to let everyone know, since we're talking about Ask Us Anything. And the first thing you need to know about us, that we are in a mixed marriage. Yeah, very mixed marriage. Not only are we cross-cultural, but we are how do you say? Like...
Veg, non-veg divide.
Veg, non-veg.
The divide and rule.
Yeah. It's a big problem. Actually, it's not so much in veg, non-veg as it is other things, but
like what?
With the food, but like
what other things?
All of a sudden you became like anti-salads.
No, I ate salad tonight.
Well, only because I forced you, and then you went and had a chicken roll anyway.
I always eat salad when I'm asked and prompted to, not on my own.
Right. But I had to do more than
nothing
prompt.
Has changed about that.
10 years of marriage, we're still where we started off. I think in the beginning you did it to actually appease me, but now you're just like, no, I don't want the salad. Don't give me the freaking salad. Don't give me the salad, Jessica.
I ate one tonight, so I do want some salad.
Sure.
I did eat it.
You did. Today is Ask Us Anything Part 1. We put out a call on social media to ask us anything. And we had responses from people all over the world. It was super fun. We picked some of our favorite questions. I actually divided them into 2 sections. So part 1 today is mostly questions like about our relationship. Second part is about life in India. Question number 1, and I think multiple people asked this question. How did you meet and fall in love? Short answer, listen to episode number 1, and that will tell you more.
Yeah.
In short, we got introduced by a friend. Abhishek was in the US studying. I was in India as a part of an internship program. We connected via email because we actually had some just like information exchange about different stuff we were working on. That was when like Facebook was kind of new-ish. We saw each other's picture, and it just so happened to be that I had just been attending a friend's wedding, and so I had some really like fly salwar kameez. Actually, I don't think it was salwar kameez, but I had like this really nice kurta pajama fancy outfit on, and I posted the picture as my profile picture. It would just so happen to be that he saw that. And you don't remember what your Facebook profile was like at that time?
Maybe just my face. Facebook.
And that was enough for me. That just did it. No, you had posted a picture of yourself at a Yankees game. I don't really care about sports that much, especially American sports. I liked that he was showing interest in something American. It was kind of like getting the cultural experience. Like, oh, well, this guy's interesting. It went on from there. I went back to the US. We met. We actually had a bunch of mutual friends, which was really great. Yeah, we just became friends and slowly got to know each other, and the rest is history.
I don't really now necessarily believe in falling in love as much as I believe in being in a committed relationship. It's a good thing. Doesn't matter who you marry, when you marry, where you marry, you have to kind of work it out. You have to work out your marriage. So after 10 years, we're still figuring that out.
That's true. So, question number 2 from Ashutosh. Did either of your parents object to your marriage? What was your in-laws' reaction when you got married? Well, I guess I'll start with the second question first. We didn't get married without them knowing, so it wasn't like a reaction. They knew about it before. We only got married with their blessing.
So we had only met 1 year before we got married. So it was not
one and a half years.
No. I'm just saying that we were only like face to face and living in same city for like 6 months,
and
9 months. Yeah.
Like
so
that.
basically it was a 1 year long relationship, and some of it was we were together, not in the same city. So it was 2 or 3 months of long distance and 9 months of actually being in the same city, seeing each other and getting to know each other. So basically it wasn't like years and years and years. Like what I usually hear, it's been like 1, 2, 3, 4 years, and a lot of people and their parents still don't know, and because they just everyone's in different circumstances. But we already kind of knew after like 7-8 months of being in a relationship we were gonna get married. So we started the process of talking to the right people within my family, because Jessica's family is more, we knew that whatever she wants to marry, they will be okay with that. Generally the expectation in the US is that the American, especially the white, black, at least those 2 races, that the people will have independence to marry. But Asian side is difficult. I mean, again, generalizing. A lot of Asian families, including South Asian families, it's not always the choice of the person marrying. There's a lot more weight, a lot more control that parents and the larger community has on the person. There could be a lot of shame and honor kind of thing happening there. For us, we started talking to my family within like 7 or 8 months of being in a relationship. Like I said, 2 or 3 months out of that was actually, long distance, and 4 months, 5 months was being in the same city.
It wasn't like, oh, hey, we're getting married, and like, here, what's your reaction? It was like a very slow process. We involved the family, and we, slowly just let the right people know and kind of went through the right chain of command. Like we didn't directly approach the elders of his family or like his parents and just say, hey, guess what? We like each other and this is what we're going to do. It's like, it doesn't work that way. You know, you have to slowly like bring up the idea to someone that's maybe more your age that's really close with your parents. So like an older cousin or sister or older brother or something like that. So I think that's a good way of going about it. It's like slowly letting people know, getting warmed up to the idea. That worked for us, and we've seen that work for a lot of other people. I think some people just go for the shock factor of like, my parents aren't going to agree, so I'm just going to do what I want, and then they're going to have to deal with it. Well, you could do that, but there also might be a lot of risk involved. It just depends on your family. We didn't get married without permission or blessing of either of our sides. That was our situation. All right, next question. This is from Elin in Norway. Have you had any negativity when it comes to your multicultural marriage from Americans? In short, I would say no, especially now that we've been together for quite a while. But in the beginning, we did have a couple of people try to convince us not to get married. That was people that are closer to us. And I think a lot of that is because of stereotypes that those people had in their minds or actual real experiences that those people had in their personal life. So, for example, one person had someone really close to them have their heart broken by an irresponsible young Indian guy. So they were really warning me, like, be careful about Indians. I'm like, yeah, okay, I kind of know, like, a little bit about.
That's what I'd say.
A little bit about Indians. Oh, I mean, that's
the funny
I'm not going to go there.
There's a lot more. I feel there is a good mix of Indian guys and girls that get married. I don't know. What's the statistics? I would say the statistics are that men who grow up in India, there is probably more likelihood, there are more percentage of those men who grew up in India who are married to non-Indians than girls who grew up in India marrying non-Indians. There are definitely Indian girls who grow up in America are more likely to marry non-Indians than Indian girls that grow up in India. Whereas Indian men who grow up here have they're the ones who are going to have more percentage of people who marry than Indian girls who grew up here. That's my understanding. And in that case, because there are fewer Indian girls marrying foreign men.
Yeah, I think that could have to do with just the power dynamics of being an Indian man versus being an Indian woman, and kind of the freedoms that you have or the freedoms that your parents give boys versus girls. But let's not go there on this episode. The next question. This is just segues perfectly to what we were just talking about. This is from an anonymous person. Do you think more South Asian men should approach white or non-Indian women? Well, I don't necessarily care who does what, but let's talk about some facts first. In India and in China, because of serious gender discrimination, there is actually a surplus of 70 million men. That's right, 70 million men. That's 7 crores. That's a lot. So basically, there are a lot of Indian men that are not going to be able to find partners in the upcoming years. And this is largely due to major gender discrimination, where people are selectively aborting female fetuses or not giving proper medical care to their girl daughters. So this is really heartbreaking, but it's a fact. It's just what happens here. So because of that, in the next generation, it's just starting to happen now where this kind of huge disparity is taking place. But in this next generation, we're going to see a lot of Indian men that are not able to find women to get married to. It's already happened in China, and it's coming here. So to answer the question, Sure, why not? Because otherwise there are going to be 70 million men that can't get married to anyone. There's my take.
So because most of the marriages in India are endogamous, which means that they happen within their own caste, that statistics of 70 million more men are not going to be evenly spread among the women, in the sense that
Right.
it's more complex. Majority of people get married within their own community, and there's no guarantee unless the 70 million less women are all from few communities. Not all men are going to be affected.
Of course. Of course, not all men are going to be affected, but
because it's a very caste-oriented society.
Right, and I'm talking on a macro level here. So I'm not talking that in every community. Like, some people in our community have even, when I've brought up this statistic before, have said, "Are bhai bahut ladki hai." It's like, well, that might be your view or your opinion because of your limited experience, but this is what's happening in the larger society. So the short answer is, sure, yes, why not? Go for it. Next question from Cheris in San Francisco. Are there any hobbies or sports, food, or other lifestyle choices that don't fit the other person's culture, but that you won't give up? Well, my husband eating chicken rolls at 10 p.m. does not fit my culture or my values. In my family, growing up, we would eat at 5 p.m., maybe 5:30, and you're done eating. And that's it. You don't eat, you would never dream of eating at 10 p.m. So that's a food habit. So I can never really decide that I'm going to be a late night eating person, whatever. That's just not me. So that's one little thing about me. Side note, just stabbing at Abhishek, giving him the side eye while he's, thinking about his role. For me, there are a lot of hobbies or activities that I really enjoy that don't really fit into Indian culture, but I think we make space for each other in those things. For example, I'm a really active person. I really enjoy exercising and running around and having a lot of physical activity. And India, as some of you may know, in general, is not a very active society, especially if you're women. And so it goes to show, I participated in a 10K race last year, and I am not a very good runner. I'm not a fast runner, but because there were so few women participating in my age category, I won a prize in my age category. And that's pathetic because there were just no women participating. So that shows that how inactive society in whole is, especially for women in your mid 30s who have kids and have a ton of responsibilities at home. So that's one thing for me that I have not given that up, just exercise and things like that. And while I know that it conflicts a lot with my other responsibilities and other things that people expect of me here, it's just something that I don't want to stop doing. I think the first couple of years when I was in India, I didn't really express interest in going to the gym or doing a lot of exercise, and I definitely suffered because of that. So that's one thing for me that I would share. But things are changing a lot. I think in urban places, it's ridiculous to think about someone not letting their wife or their daughter-in-law go to the gym or things like that. But where we live, it definitely still happens. I don't really think I need to give it up, but it definitely conflicts with my other responsibilities here in our life. What about you, hon?
In a positive way, there's a lot of independence of what you want to eat or don't want to eat, right? So if my family was purely vegetarian, this would apply directly. So yeah, I know I don't really think anything with food necessarily doesn't apply as much, but with hobbies, fishing and football and I don't know, just whatever American hobbies are.
Yeah,
hunting, I don't know.
I guess for you would say that just not being interested in those things has been fine.
Yeah, and sometimes it is, sometimes it does, because hobbies in America are a big thing for people to socialize through. So not having a lot of hobbies or just being sport and going ahead with something, that's okay. But since I didn't grow up doing any of this, I don't really always enjoy, unless the people that I'm doing it with are really already my friends. I don't really enjoy the activity as much. If some people, like strangers, want to just go out hunting or fishing, I don't think it's going to be as much of a pleasant experience for me unless I already knew a lot of people on that outing. Then I would probably enjoy it.
So it's like socially driven for you.
Yeah, not as activity driven.
Not as like individually, this is my interest, this is what I want to do. It's like, if other people are doing it, I'll go with it, but otherwise it doesn't really matter. So just like not having American hobbies has been something that you've had a journey with, and just said like, actually it's cool, I have other friends that have different interests that I don't feel like I have to fit in. So last question from Pat in Chicago. She's talking to me here. What has been the most difficult adjustment you have had to make to Indian culture, Jessica, and for you, Abhishek, to American culture? And how are you handling it with your children? We could do a whole episode on that. Initially, in my first couple of years, I would have said just like, and this isn't part of Indian culture, but it's a byproduct of Indian culture, would be just like the environment in India, like the traffic, pollution, the garbage. Like that's the initial things that I think were an adjustment for me. But now that I've been here in and around in the Indian community for like 14 years or whatever, I would say that probably one of the biggest adjustments that I continue to have to make is just differences in gender roles and how men and women are treated totally differently. And that's okay. I think I'm under the view that I don't think men and women have to be treated exactly the same, but I do think that there needs to be equality. Equality doesn't mean identically, I would say. So, for example, if somebody got in a car accident with Abhishek here, they would jump out of the car and start screaming at them at the top of their lungs. If they got into an accident with me, they probably wouldn't start screaming and waving their fists at me, seeing that I'm a woman. And I honestly appreciate that. So that's one way that, they could be obviously angry, but, I do appreciate that. I don't want a man who could definitely like beat me up, start screaming and waving his fist at me. So that's one way that I guess is like a slight difference in how I would want to be treated differently as a woman than a man. Maybe that's a poor example, but I think for me, just, seeing how much just blatant inequality is here. It's just every single day there's something that comes up that rubs me the wrong way, or that I just have to adjust to. For example, the other day I was out and there were some kids playing on our property and they knew they shouldn't have been there. So I had gone downstairs and I told them, hey, you guys need to go play somewhere else. This is private property. And they just sat there and they looked at me like I had just not said anything, or that I was speaking like a different language entirely, or they didn't understand me. And I knew they understood me fully, completely. And I had asked them, आप लोग कहाँ रहते हो? कहीं और खेलो, अपने जगह में खेलना है, अपने पार्क में खेलना है, यहाँ पे नहीं खेलना है. So they just stared at me. And then as soon as our neighbor came home, he scolded these guys, hey, यहाँ से हटो. And all he had to say was one sentence. And because he was a man, they all ran off. So just that kind of stuff really irks me sometimes. So just adjusting to that difference and knowing that people are going to treat me differently because I'm a woman.
Okay, so for me, there was a lot of adjustment at different levels in America. I was in America for 2 years before I met Jessica. So I was already sort of getting my feet wet in the culture and as a student and living on my own. So there were some challenges or new things that I had to get used to. I would say like socialization is so different. And I think that was one of the challenge of how do you actually become friends with people, or does the other person even know what the friendship that you expect even look like? So basically, like if you find other Indians in your community in America, then what happens is that you kind of already know what the expectation is of a friend. oh, you're gonna hang out with each other, you're gonna cook food together, eat together, go out, and there's, like you're the same, the cues. But sometimes, like, you don't know exactly what the boundaries are of friendship. And I mean, I think having deep friendships on your own terms was difficult. So you had to learn American way of doing friendship. And once you get comfortable with that, then it's fine. But it takes time to get comfortable with doing American way of friendship with American people who don't know your culture, what you expect out of friendship. So there's appointments, there's like lots of calls before you actually meet anyone. And then
texts, not calls.
Right,
now
calls. Yeah, lots of texts, and a lot of coordination is required to meet someone. And then generally you are. And generally, what I felt was very hobby oriented. At least the part of Indiana I was living in, it was generally hobby oriented. There were a couple of outlets for me where I really made friends. There were a couple of outlets, like being part of two different gatherings that I was part of as an international student, and also a community that we were part of. So basically those two communities actually provided the most friends and the deepening of friendships. But otherwise, the friendship is quite different in US, and it can be quite lonely if you're on your own and you don't have a big group of friends, and if you're not part of a vibrant campus, which I was not. I was living on my own, and my school was like, my college in India, we say college. My college was like 45 minutes, an hour away from where I was living, the city I was living in, the town I was living in. So I had to build my own friendships outside of my campus, which was not natural necessarily. So I think socialization was hard, and getting used to that. And in some ways, it's still not easy, because there's a totally different culture than Indian culture. People think differently, people behave differently, people are just different. And you can't expect them to know you and your culture and what your expectations and needs are as an Indian. So you have to play in their turf. And slowly, hopefully, you can find those people as well there. I think I have a pretty decent group of Indians mixed with internationals who grew up in maybe, I don't know, non-American country, and then Americans from cities and rural areas. And so I like the diversity of that friendship. And any one of them can be deep friends with you. And now I think I feel like I can have deeper friendships and different levels. But yeah, it's still, it's not going to always be easy. It's not easy here in India to have deep friendships anymore for me, as I feel sometimes. So that's my take.
That's great. So I think we'll wrap up this section and listen in for part 2, where we talk more about our opinions and answering questions about life in India.